who exactly is under the most pressure in this town with a lot of optimism popping right now for football season. We spent earlier in the week, Tiki, talking a lot about Hard Knocks and how Robert Saleh was portrayed. We can get to that in a little bit. It feels like Robert Saleh right now is in the good graces of Jet fans. Aaron Rodgers could walk on water right now in this town. Brian Dable is coming off of a Coach of the Year with high expectations for him. But it's the guy who signed the contract that some laughed at, some applauded Joe Shane at, and the guy who threw 15 touchdown passes that everybody wants to ignore the touchdown runs with, that I believe as we begin truly an unofficial start to this football campaign here in New York, Daniel Jones, I think, is the guy under the most pressure in this town this year.
Daniel Jones is under the radar as well right now. Nobody is talking about Daniel Jones. After the contract that got done, that is, the Saquon Barkley situation took over and dominated every bit of Giant conversation leading into training camp. He's looked good, at least from the highlights that we've seen. And from the general reports, Daniel Jones looks like he's transitioning pretty well. But we know what the story has been. It's been Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. So as a result, Daniel Jones has just glided underneath all of the expectation talk, all of the follow-up, from a pretty decent season talk last year, all of the what does this contract mean for him talk. It really hasn't happened in this town because of what's going on over in Florham Park with the New York Jets. But Daniel Jones, I believe, is perfectly positioned to have a phenomenal second year under Mike Kafka and Brian Dable. In fact, going back to when we were down at DJ's, I said, look, and I was kind of saying that to get the crowd riled up, but I actually believe it. Daniel Jones could have a better season and probably will have a better season than Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has so many things going on, with Hard Knocks, which we will get to later on in the show, with a new group of players, even though, there's a couple of Randall Cobb, Lazard, those guys are still there. It's a new group of players, an offensive line that increasingly looks like it is all over the place. But with continuity and with the Giants, with Saquon Barkley back and reasonably happy. Obviously, he still wants money, but he's reasonably happy. He's going to do what he's always done. An offensive line that's getting better, a system that he's now very familiar with and is certainly going to advance in. To me, Daniel Jones is in a position to just thrive, just play and thrive, and you got to be excited about that if you're a Giant fan.
I agree with all of that, and it's part of the reason I am excited as a Giant fan. I can't wait to rub my hands together and watch Trey Hawkins play football tonight for the New York Giants. You're not going to see Daniel Jones, which, by the way, we could talk about whether you should play your starters, not play your starters later on. So I am with you 100% on everything you said about the optimism. But because of that, how can I sit here honestly as a Giant fan and not say with a straight face that puts him under the most pressure? Because we could say he's well-positioned in year 2 to do these things. He is well-positioned to take that next step. But if you have been somebody who has been at the basically groundswell of defending Daniel Jones in his career, you are about to be out of excuses. Now, Evan Neal could still have a bad year at right tackle, causing a lot of the pressure issues. But he has maybe the best left tackle protecting his blind side in football. Mm-hmm. He has now been blessed with one of the great weapons under pressure to get the ball to in football in Darren Waller. Again, health being a question. Mm-hmm. The team has invested in speed at wide receiver. Jalen Hyatt being that, bringing back Darius Slayton. They have
Paris Campbell.
They have brought in more reliable hands like Cole Beasley as opposed to Richie James, who actually had a good year for the Giants last year. Somehow, some way, the Saquon Barkley distraction is gone. He is here. We have heard for years about turnovers, about bad offensive line play. Last year, the whole story was about the lack of receivers. Daniel Jones cannot have excuses now, especially now that the rookie contract is over and he's making the money. And he's in a spot where the Giants could turn around in 2 years and say, see ya. So Aaron Rodgers, if he's true to his word, and he really is going to be here for more than 1 year, and things can change quickly with Aaron Rodgers' mind, as we all know. I believe that Aaron Rodgers, really, barring a complete meltdown and disaster, a 4-win year, which none of us expect, can do no wrong. So how could I say he truly has pressure internally in the city if Jet fans basically are in a honeymoon period with him?
But why is Daniel Jones the one with the pressure?
Because I'll tell you.
I think Daniel Jones proved last year that his biggest flaw was fixable. Because there's certain guys that you look at and they have turnover issues, and it's like, God, this guy's never going to fix. He fixed it. He led the league, meaning the least amount of turnover percentage tied with Jalen Hurts at 1.1%, I believe was the exact number.
Yeah.
He didn't turn the football over. And
especially if they turned it over week 1 versus
exactly.
Tennessee.
And a stupid interception that he threw in the corner trying to force it to Saquon Barkley. We all know it went down. Dable screams at him. He didn't turn the ball over at all. He wasn't a liability to this team. So he knows that. Like, that's ingrained in his mind now, and it's constantly going to be a point of emphasis. When I think about pressure on a player, I think, man, if you don't perform, then this is going to cost you your job. I don't think that Daniel Jones has pressure. I feel like Daniel Jones has been freed of that pressure because of the success he had last year, because of his ability to fix the one issue. And Sean, trust me, I know this, right? When I was playing and I had a fumbling issue, it was like, dude, Tiki, you're great, but man, can you stop fumbling?
Right. If most pressure was a topic back then, you might have been the leading candidate.
Right. But when I fixed it, it freed me. And that's when I started having my best seasons. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I can only relate from a personal perspective. I truly feel like Daniel Jones, for the first time, feels control. Right? Early on, it was, he had a good season as a rookie, threw for 3,000 yards and 20-something touchdowns, but it was like, it just felt like dysfunction was going on.
And it was the turnovers, and a coach was on his way to getting fired.
Exactly. And then the next couple of years, it's new coaches and new situations and new players, the offensive lines. And it was like all of this, nothing was in his control. I feel like for the first time in his career, and it's 5 years in, Daniel Jones actually has control, and that is so freeing. And that's why I'm excited for Daniel Jones. We saw what I think we sniffed the surface of what he is last year. And I only expect it to go higher, which is why I said when we were down at DJ's, I think he's going to have a better season than Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, and I feel you on the freeing thing, and I will tell you that when me and Tommy were at camp last week, or a week ago today, it was so evident. I've been at Daniel Jones camps. You could just see the difference in the aura and everything, and the energy, and even the way he's throwing the football. And we're going to get a taste of that Monday. The whole station will be down at Giants camp as well. But look at this week. The Giants are playing the Detroit Lions tonight, and they had these joint practices.
I can't wait to watch this game, actually.
Yeah, I mean, Dan Campbell's going to have his guys playing hard, and the Giants have some intriguing prospects. By the way, that'll be a subject of Cinco de Fivo coming up your way at 5 o'clock and each and every day here on Evan and Tiki. But day one, when the Giants offense looked off a tick as Dan Campbell had the defense humming and Matt Peart's playing right tackle because Evan Neal's banged up.
Defense always has an advantage, I'm telling you.
The moment any of the writers started tweeting or Instagramming or TikToking that Daniel Jones and the offense were struggling.
Are they threading these days?
Or threading.
I'm just making sure.
Tiki, I noticed it because I sit here and follow all this stuff. The NFL vultures came down. And some of these accounts and buzz and NFL talk shows and everything. Boy, are we sure the Giants should have paid Daniel Jones off of one practice. So while Giant fans might have re-fallen in love or for the first time fell in love with Daniel Jones last year, this is why he's under the most pressure. Because Aaron Rodgers could have a 3-interception game on opening night versus Buffalo, and people will say, relax, it's Aaron Rodgers, relax.
Yeah, he's still going to the Hall of Fame.
Right. Daniel Jones hasn't graduated to that level. And he's also not replacing Zach Wilson either. He is still in a spot where people are waiting for him to fail. He's in kind of that Kirk Cousins mold of, we know he's got it.
I don't feel that, man.
Oh, and we don't feel it in New York. I'm telling you, it's a big deal for people who aren't Giant fans. It is still out there. Geez, we compared the Rodgers Tiki or the Rodgers Jones thing yesterday, and what was the first thing, Jeff? Are you guys kidding me? Have you watched Daniel Jones play? The 15 touchdowns, they keep doing this, and there's still some Giant fans like that. I am telling you, if the Giants get off to a slow start, Giant fans and people from the outside aren't going to want to hear excuses about offensive line play, lack of weapons, or an uptick in competition.
Yeah.
I think Daniel Jones, because that's under the most pressure.
So it's the national conversation.
Yes.
Which is where, honestly, when you're making $40 million a year, you are no longer just a little local story.
No, of course.
You are a national story. Now, he's not, the top paid quarterback in football. It's not what we're talking about. But he is one of the highest paid on the Giants. Certainly he's the highest paid on the Giants, but also one of the highest paid at the position still. I think he's, it's going to be 11, 10 or 11?
I think with the Rodgers step back, and you're waiting on the Burrow extension,
Yes,
once that happens, he'll be 12 or 13.
Exactly. So he's still not, he's not paid like he's the elite.
He's probably paid where he should be when you think of where the quarterback's ranked.
That's right. Which is why when people want to throw the contract at you, right? It's different than let's go to the Mets watching Max Scherzer. He didn't pitch like a $43 million pitcher this year. Justin Verlander started to at the end before he got traded. But you complained about those guys because of the money. You're not going to complain about Daniel Jones because of the money. I think he's exactly where he's supposed to be for a quarterback that put a winning team on his shoulders and went and won a playoff game on the road against the Vikings, who to that point I don't think they had lost one-score games. That was their first one-score game lost all season, Minnesota, in the playoff, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, you're right, because the Giants had them on the ropes in the regular season. That would have been their first, right?
That's right. And so I feel like Daniel Jones has, developed this confidence that you didn't see, like, outwardly prior. And it was all because of the success early down the stretch in the postseason, and then the respect that the Giants showed him. Saquon is pissed off about this.
Yeah, of course.
Right,
yeah.
the success and the respect that the Giants showed him in getting that deal done, which nobody saw coming. There was nobody at the end of that season that was saying Daniel Jones is going to be in the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL paid wise. Nobody thought that.
Many
was
thought
gonna
franchise tag.
Yeah, they thought he was going to be one of the middling, top quarterbacks, not one of the top paid quarterbacks. The Giants showed him respect, which basically said, we trust you. We believe in you. Yes, we have an out after a couple of years, but we trust and believe in you. And that, along with the fact that he fixed his biggest issue, it's got to be so freeing. It really does. I mean, I can feel it from him just watching how he's practicing right now.
877-337-6666 is Daniel Jones, the football figure here in New York that's under the most pressure as we unofficially begin football season with Giant and Jet games both happening this weekend. Beginning tonight, by the way, on the FM signal, 101.9 FM, you can catch Giants football at 7 o'clock. Let's go to Connor in Basking Ridge. Connor, you're on the Fan.
How we doing, gentlemen? I got two quick things for you. So
what's up, dude?
First things first, Sean, I think you should change your middle name to Get, so we can start calling you Sean Gets More Ass.
Damn, Connor, where were you in college?
I like that. That's
and
awesome. Hey, Mom, I just got to tell you something. You misnamed me when I was birthed.
By the way, do you know my middle name, Tiki?
I do not.
Taylor.
It's Taylor.
I was born right after the 86 Super Bowl.
Oh, my God.
Sean is after Sean Landetta. That's how big a Giant fan my dad was.
Go ahead,
You
Connor.
got Sean Taylor in you, huh?
Exactly.
Second thing, so Daniel Jones, up to that entire offseason leading up to that 2019 draft, I was saying he's going to be the best quarterback in that class. I'm a massive Giants fan. I wanted him to draft him so badly. Do you guys still believe he's going to be the best quarterback in that draft?
Well, it'd be Kyler Murray would be the other one. Obviously, the late Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah, I mean...
And I might be missing somebody who went in the second round.
I feel like I'm missing. Manny, who was else in that draft? Do we remember?
Was that Jalen Hurts?
No, Hurts was 20.
Was 20?
Yeah.
So if there was anybody else in the second, those were the three first-rounders, though. It was Kyler Murray, Dwayne Haskins, and Daniel Jones.
I'm trying to remember if there was a second-rounder that might have done something. But, he is going to be, I think, the best one out of that draft. I'm going to have to look it up.
Yeah, I think you'd have to be silly to want Kyler Murray at this stage.
Well, Kyler was interesting because of the system that he was put into. Right, it was the Cliff Kingsbury system. You knew as soon as he got that head coaching job, Kyler Murray was not playing baseball, and he's going to go to the NFL and be the number one overall pick. And he was great. He was the rookie of the year his rookie season,
right?
But he never advanced. He just kind of stayed steady, and then he got injured, and things just kind of went south from there. And now he's trying to come back from an ACL.
By the way, Drew Lock was the next quarterback.
Yeah, so Daniel Jones is definitely going to be the best quarterback out of that draft. He's the only one that you have faith is improving, right? Kyler is not improving. Maybe in the new regime, for the Steichen regime out there, maybe he does, but we won't see that this year. We won't know that until
Gannon,
next year.
Actually, it's the defensive coordinator. Steichen's in Indy. Yeah,
Steichen's in Indiana. We don't know what Kyler Murray's going to be. I think we've started to figure out what Daniel Jones is and who he's going to be going forward. So. Yeah, he definitely is the best quarterback out of that draft. As crazy as that sounds.
Yeah, comparing yourself to the peers, but being the best quarterback out of that draft doesn't mean you're an elite quarterback.
It doesn't mean anything.
Right. Harvey in Dix Hills. Harvey, you're on the Fan.
Hi.
What's up,
Tiki
Harvey?
and Sean, how are you?
We're good, man.
What's up, Harvey?
Pretty good. Two factors I think play into each other for the Giants, okay? Tiki, I had actually mentioned to you, and you agree with me the last time I spoke to you about it, is that the Giants actually have a true center now, all right? And in John Michael Schmitz from Minnesota. And I think they haven't had a center before. I mean, without going in detail, Gates and Lemieux and Feliciano were not true centers.
No, they were all guards.
Yes, right, exactly. And they could have had Lindenbaum the year earlier, but they got Neal, et cetera, okay? But having said that, the fact of the matter, having a true center, and I hope, Tiki, that you can let us know as it progresses how he's doing.
Yep.
Because Bredesen has been rotating. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I think at the last couple of starts, couple of practices, he has actually been the starting center. It was Schmidt for like 4 days, and then Bredesen moved
Schmidt's
back
taken
in
its
there.
back the last two, but they've rotated all those guys, whether it's obviously Glowinski at right tackle and Azuto at right guard, left guard with Azuto. They're trying to find a spot for Bredesen there.
Well, not only that, they get injured during a game, they go back in, so you need somebody to come right in at center.
Yeah.
But I think that fits along right with Daniel Jones. The fact of the matter is Daniel Jones is a pretty good deep passer, except that the number of times he does it is very small.
Yeah.
The percentage is very good.
Yeah, because you got to win. You got to have guys that can win on the outside. And appreciate your call, Harvey. Look, and you want to just get back to center real quick. Center feels like it's the least talked about of the positions on the offensive line, but it is often the most important one. Obviously because of the snap, simply because he has his hand literally on the ball every single play.
Right.
And if you jack up in it, because everybody's in a shotgun these days, we've forgotten how to take snaps on their center, or at least we don't want to. It's actually more efficient. It's just easier. But you got to make good snaps. But you're also reading and transmitting to everybody else on the offensive line.
Right.
Who you IDing as the mic? If we're turning protection, who are we basing it off of? Who are we leaving? And so while I think John Michael Schmidt is going to be a really good center, his learning curve is still very, very big for what he's going to face in the NFL.
And especially this division in the NFC East. I mean, we saw the interior offensive line get pushed around a lot by these teams. That's Washington's biggest strength when they can throw, obviously, Deron Payne at you. Clearly what Philadelphia does, and now they've added Jalen Carter to the mix. Yeah. And that wrecked the game in the playoffs. You want to talk about the second-round loss to Philly that we've buried.
Yep.
You need good interior offensive line play.
I got to, Sean, you know this because you watched it just like I did. The worst games the Giants had were when the offensive line got destroyed.
No doubt.
The Cowboys game.
Week 3 versus Dallas.
Exactly. The week 3 against Dallas, Evan Neal looked like a turnstile. And then you get the Eagles, who they just manhandled up front.
Right. So, those games got out of hand because of bad offensive line play. Philly just winning the trenches. And, oh, by the way, on reverse, look at what Jason Kelsey has done as Philly center. He's every bit as important as A.J. Brown.
I think you're 100% right about that. So center, it's a good call because Harvey's bringing up, and we're talking Daniel Jones, but so much of this is going to depend on what those 5 guys, when they finally settle on who those 5 guys are going to be, in particular the center. And it's why Bredesen, I think, has a slight edge, even though John Michael Schmidt can win it if he plays great in the preseason.
I think they want John Michael Schmitz to win it. And wouldn't shock me if Bredesen wins one of the guard jobs. But Bredesen has to prove he's been healthy too.
True.
On that note on center, one thing I wanted to ask you off the air, I'll just ask you now because we're talking about it. A lot was made early in camp. John Michael Schmitz was a guy drafted in Minnesota that does the dead snap. Yeah. Okay? And, that's something not as common in the NFL. But people have been, panicked that that's going to screw up Daniel Jones' timing.
I actually think it's better, to be honest with you, because it sends the ball back flat.
There's probably somebody listening who has no idea what a dead snap is. So how would you best explain it?
Think about a knuckleball, right? Okay. You throw a knuckleball, not slow, it's not fast. It's not like a darting, diving knuckleball, but it's coming back very slow and flat. So it's not spinning. It's not, it's not coming at you like a spiral.
It's almost like you'd snap it playing with your kids in the street.
Exactly. It's really easy to catch. The only challenge is it's sometimes slow.
Okay.
Right? It gets there slower. But there's less think of how many times we've seen a shotgun snap, center snaps the ball, it's zipped past the quarterback. He's not paying attention, and it's by him, and it's 15 yards behind. That's the danger.
Airmailed back.
Exactly. That's the danger of the spiral snap. or if a quarterback misses it or mishandles it, it's easy to just slip off to the side. The dead snap is just kind of floats back there. It's just a little bit slower. That's the only thing.
So then the offensive line better be good protecting if that split second cost you. So we'll continue your calls on that. Plus, we'll continue to talk about the Giants as they head into the year. Could they actually have a worse record but be a better team?